Okay, everybody, here's the description of your first assignment that I'm going to make everybody, regardless of what class you're in, do. It's not necessarily 100% content related to the comparative government or forensics folks, but I think it's something that is going to be good practice. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And what we're going to do is a little bit of journaling. So, one of the things that I think is almost universal in the way that I've seen a lot of teachers kind of approach teaching through the pandemic is to do a little bit of journaling for the sake of keeping yourself sane. So, in history classes, we know a lot of what we know from reading primary sources from people's experiential knowledge or journals or letters from what they did during a given period of time. So this is your ability to kind of contribute to the public space in terms of how you're handling life during social distancing, during quarantine, during mandatory shutdowns of whatever gets added to by the day. So starting as soon as you see this assignment, you can start a journal in Google Docs. You can put together a Google slideshow. You can create a blog. You can create a podcast. You can do anything to share your experience with how you're handling the COVID-19 outbreak. And this is kind of to keep you sane, to kind of look back at some point in the future, to see what you did, see how the government or local authorities or whoever kind of communicated changes in what was going on. So I've uh, borrowed this from someone on one of the social studies Facebook groups, and I added some additional questions. So the first two are the ones that I'm kind of interested in the most, right? It's been almost 3 weeks since I've had any degree of contact with almost all of you. So questions one and two will kind of set the stage for what I, need to know about your state of mind with school changing, right? That we were on the tail end of our spring break. We all got an email that said school was going to go on, that we would all show up together and, um, see each other after spring break. And then we got the announcement that schools were going to be delayed for 2 weeks. And then in the middle of that first additional week of spring break, right, we heard the announcement from the governor that schools were going to be physically shut down for the rest of the year. And I kind of want to know where your head was at, right? One of the things that I'll do, and I'll share this out on my blog on my website, is kind of where my head was at in terms of the extended, coronation versus the physical shutdown of schools, and kind of where my head was at through that process and how things have kind of changed for me on a day-to-day basis. Um, so those two things will kind of help me know what's going on from where this all started. And then, questions three on are things that you can look at in terms of writing on a daily basis, right? So the Trump administration, local authorities have held press conferences, press releases on a daily basis. So, what kind of things were announced or implemented that day? Did it impact you? How did you or your family have to respond to this? Like, how did these actions change your life? Question four asks about the changes that have happened either, in your local community, in your neighborhood, that kind of stuff. Number five is something that I think will be kind of interesting to look at across the rest of this outbreak. What kind of stuff is open and closed, and how do these business shifts kind of change your daily routine? Um, do you see examples of social categories rearing their head? Do you see an increase or decrease in racism and forms of privilege and inequality from the different things that have gone on? Did you see anything that you increased your fear today, that increased your hope today? what were some things that you did today, right? Aside from, sitting in meetings, I played a lot of Animal Crossing. So what are some things that you did to kind of de-stress, to find some you time, right? To find some pleasure in some chaotic times. Um, and I think this is just, it will be an interesting exercise in terms of looking at sharing out all of our experiences throughout this historic episode, in terms of kind of everything shutting down. And it's something that, I'm definitely going to do. And I think there is a value, regardless of whether or not it's, 100% educational or not, in terms of, you finding a way to document your kind of maddening experience of enclosure. So this video will be posted on my YouTube channel long before it gets posted on anybody's classroom. So if you watch it, the document is forthcoming, but I really think this will be kind of an interesting exercise to see how we're all handling things differently. Have a good one.